Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Game week, LSU and Clemson. We are getting razor close. Saturday night, 6:30 Central Time over there from South Carolina. Got a lot to do over the course of the next 4 days. Let's crank things up in the second hour with our guy Bryce Koon from the Bengal Tiger on 3. Bryce, how are you?
Doing well, Hunt. I love how you let it in there, man. We finally get to talk about some real games and no more fall camp conversation or preseason portal realignment. None of that crap. We can talk actual football.
I can't complain too much when the baseball team gets us all the way through June. Like, that's a nice gift. But July can be a bit of a slog, and then early August. Actually, early August is good because they just start. Middle August can be a slog. We're through that now. It's time to roll. So let's talk about this LSU defense a little bit. I'm super high on the defense. I've listened to you and Matthew Bruni on the Bengal Tiger podcast. It kind of sounds like y'all echo that. Why do you feel good about this defense?
Yeah, man, and I think it really just kind of starts with, and Kelly kind of hit on this today, just the amount of snaps that you brought in through the portal, the veteran talent. I mean, it's just hard to imagine those guys just every single one of them not panning out, right? I mean, it doesn't feel like a likely scenario. I mean, the guys that you brought in, at the very least, are going to be high floor players. And if we're just being real, I don't know, across the entire 11 on defense over the past couple of years, how many guys you could say, hey, consistently, I know what I'm going to get out of this guy. And it's not a knock, it's just the personnel difference, and so I just think that is a major key. And then, man, if you've been listening to those podcasts, you know how I feel about the safety play. Between A.J. Halsey and Marcus Cooley, I think that might be the two positions where you have upgraded just the most. I mean, just in terms of snap count, the floor, but also the ceiling. Hunt, you've been out there at several of the scrimmages and camps, and, man, their willingness and ability to come down into that run alley and make plays and then also make them, it's miles ahead of where that safety room has been the past couple of years. And then to kind of add on the back end, Mansour Delane, just a guy that I think is going to be a Swiss Army knife. He's going to be a high-level player for you. Wanted to come to LSU to boost his draft stock. So I just think that they've elevated across the board, that the floor of this defense, there's a reason for fans to get excited. I don't know what the ceiling is. I think it can be really, really good. But you've just elevated the floor so much, it's hard not to have confidence.
Well, let's go to the offense now. You've seen a lot of them, and they've been working against that defense. We're going to talk wins and losses because you've got a piece up at the Bengal Tiger right now that talks about it. But, what do you feel like is about this offense? Where's your confidence level there overall?
Yeah, I'll start with, the skill positions. I mean, LSU is going to have the skill talent to match just about anybody in the country. Wide receiver-wise, I love what they have there. I'm really interested to see the utilization of Bauer Sharp and Trey'Dez Green at the tight end spot. I mean, that's a lot of matchup nightmares that we could, see Joe Sloan utilize. But it all comes down to offensive line. That's what Brian Kelly talked about today. And, my coworker Matthew Bruni just put up a piece on, kind of his quotes about playing more than 5 guys, 6, 7, 8 guys on that offensive line, even this weekend. And trying to find that match in a primetime game is not really where you want to be. But I think that there is a reason for excitement with this offense. I go back to the year Jaden Daniels took the leap. What did Joe Sloan, Brian Kelly, and even Mike Denbrock at that time say? Decisiveness. Pre-snap decisiveness. Knew where he could go, read the defense. And, man, Nussmeier has looked really good in fall camp. And I think if that little thing has changed for him, it unlocks all of the God-given talent he has. That's never been the issue, right? The arm talent, all that kind of stuff. But the mental side for him, if that switched, it takes his offense into a different stratosphere. So if the offensive line can figure it out, I feel great about what this offense can go. And obviously that helps a run game that I think has one of probably the more underrated backs in the country. When you start to kind of look at, Caden Durham being left off some list, and I'm seeing a lot of social media accounts, not have Durham in maybe their ranking of running backs in the country. I think the kid's extremely talented. I think Harlem Berry's going to be a force, and Caleb Jackson could be utilized situationally. But there's just too many weapons, Hunt, for them not to be middle of the pack to the top half of the SEC. If some things click, especially on the offensive line and mentally for Garrett Nussmeier, you're looking where I think you could have a top 3 unit in the conference.
In August, everybody's going to work on screens and draws and the quick game. Like, that's not new to anybody. Everybody's got to work on it. Do you believe that LSU has spent more time on things in case the offensive line struggles than they usually would?
I do. I think that there is a awareness of who they are. And Joe Sloan hinted at that in his press conference. And, I mean, you don't have to be in the media to know. If you watch the LSU press conferences, you listen to Joe Sloan. He says a lot in a little amount of time in terms of packing what he wants to talk about. And one thing he talked about was understanding the personnel grouping. And I think that's something that maybe last year, I could be totally wrong, and tell me this, I felt like they tried to put the, square peg into the round hole verbally in terms of what they wanted to do offensively. And it saw at times where fans and media, we were sitting in the press box just banging our head against the wall, watching them do things that weren't working. And you can't abandon things. I understand that. But I think this year there's an understanding of, hey, if that run game doesn't get started quickly this Saturday, let's utilize Aaron Anderson. Let's utilize Xavion Thomas and all the different formations and places we can put him. Let's get creative, because you don't have time to ram your head on 2nd and 4, 3rd and 2, and not get yardage. I mean, that cannot happen on the road against Clemson, against that defensive front. So you've got to give some different looks to open things up. And that's the last part of it. I mean, last year, you go back and watch that Texas A&M game was the biggest one for me, and Florida to an extent. Teams started loading the box, in that sense. And they knew what LSU couldn't do, and they knew what they were trying to do. And if you can mix in some looks, and I think they have been doing that, it gives you some flexibility, maybe a little bit more room for error in that run game where it doesn't have to be perfect from, the start of the game.
All right, so you went through a piece predicting a record. I'm curious, did you go through game by game and see what the record was, or did you have a record in mind and then play to it?
I went game by game. I'll be honest with you. I got to about the last 3 weeks, and I was like, okay, I think this is where I'm settling. So, no, this was a strictly game by game. I did not want to go in with a record in mind.
So, a loss in the opener against Clemson, not exactly a hot take, but you feel like that's just a little too tough an environment for LSU at this point?
Right now, I just think that Clemson brings in an experienced group that has played together, and I feel more comfortable. If I was just, from putting my money where my mouth is, I would put the money on Clemson in that aspect. I will say this. I don't think the team that plays Clemson on Saturday is going to be the same team that plays them later in the year, but that continuity aspect, I kind of like that a little bit, in a slight favorite there this weekend.
And then you have, obviously, another loss coming up against, was Alabama the next one? Yeah, Alabama 34-31. These are the Clemson score that you had put down was 31-27, and then the one in Tuscaloosa you've got as a high-scoring game as well. Even though I think that we feel really good about the defense, and I think Clemson and Alabama both have good defense, you still feel like track meets are kind of inevitable?
I think it's going to happen because, and especially at that juncture of the season, look what your second week in November, you know who you are. I think that the offensive talent on both sides of the football, or both teams in that Alabama-LSU game, will shine at that point. Defense can make big momentum plays, but I think both offenses, especially LSU, is going to be too hard to keep down. And look, I get the concern about Ty Simpson. I understand that. I've said multiple times, and I think I put that in this piece and in our podcast. I think Alabama's got the talent around him. If he can be a point guard, that's fine. He does not have to be, the number one pick in the draft. If he can just delegate, if he can make the right decision, they've got skill talent around him to be able to put up some points. So, yeah, I mean, as much as we've talked about the defense on, it's one of those for me that it's like I just think there's too much offensive talent, too much variety of it to hold it down for too long.
And then Ole Miss, week 5, you got LSU winning in Oxford, 35-30, another kind of high-scoring game. That would not be the first time those two teams went back and forth on the field.
Yeah, my first year on the beat was 2023, and, man, that game I know it's just imprinted on LSU fans in their minds, and it was not fun to watch, but just watching that track meet, I don't think it'll be that. But I do think there's an aspect, and, look, you could really dive into those scores more. I think Ole Miss scores late to keep that closer than it looks on paper. I don't doubt Lane Kiffin. I know there's a ton of upheaval happening in Oxford, but to me, Kiffin's getting to the point at a place, Hunt, and I've heard you guys talk about this, where they don't win like they're winning right now. That's not something that happens at Ole Miss. So he's doing a good job. You got to give him credit. That's not something that happens in their history. So I'm starting to get him the benefit of the doubt that they're going to be at least respectable offensively. And look, it's a tough road environment, still kind of early in the season there to round out the month of September. I think LSU's offense is going to be fine in that game, but I think Lane Kiffin's good job of scheming stuff up is going to be able to find, some things that work against this LSU defense.
So that win in Oxford, a win against South Carolina at home, win against Florida, a win on the road against Vanderbilt. It comes to 9-2 on the road at Oklahoma, and you've got the Sooners winning by 4 there to knock LSU down to 10-3 as opposed to 10-2. That would be a heck of a theater there in Norman, but ultimately a disappointment. Why'd you settle on that?
Man, I know that there's really a divide on how people feel about this Oklahoma team, right? There's people like me, and I don't know your take on it, but they really kind of feel like Oklahoma might have something in terms of marrying their OC, who was with John Mateer the previous stop, to having him now. I think that is a key component when you're breaking in a transfer quarterback or a guy that hasn't played in your system. Well, you have that. The quarterback understands the reads. He understands the checks, the call-outs. That is something that when you talk about breaking into quarterbacks across the SEC, that is what I think gives Mateer a little bit of a difference of a change from guys like Jackson Arnold at Auburn and all these other guys that are entering the system for the first time. And I'm really high on the running back they've got, Jade Knott. I think he was one of the better running backs in the country the past couple of years, really good in the ACC last year with Cal, and which just sounds crazy to even say that we're talking about Cal in the ACC. But, he's talented. And, Shea Dixon and I were kind of talking about this on our pod last night about it can't go worse for Oklahoma, right? Like, I guess it always could. I guess I'll put that out into the stratosphere. But, it can't go worse in terms of how hurt they were in the discombobulation at quarterback that they had. I mean, you would have to think that it's going to be a little bit better. And so do I think Oklahoma's playing for a playoff spot in that? Could this game be a play-in for a playoff spot? Maybe, but it also could be a scenario where Oklahoma's playing to keep Brent Venables' job. And look, going on the road, if you notice, all 3 of my losses are on the road. I feel comfortable saying LSU can win at home. When you go on the road, man, that's where I want to see the growth and the maturity of this team. Do I think they could win all 3 games that I put down as losses? I do. I want to put that out there. I do. I'm just really, and I think a large portion of the fan base is in this spot, Hunt. I need to see it to believe it. It could start this week, and we know, viewpoints change throughout the season, but that last game in Norman could have some implications where, Oklahoma could be that wounded animal in the corner, and that's not a team you want to play in their own house.
If you want to read about how LSU sucks, you can go to the Bengal Tiger and read Bryce's prediction. I'm kidding. Bryce, great addition to the team over there at the Bengal Tiger. Shea Dixon, Matthew Bruni, Bryce Koon, the Bengal Tiger podcast as well, wherever you find your podcast. We appreciate some time, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
He is Bryce Koon from the Bengal Tiger, part of the team over there on 3. They do awesome work. I appreciate him for giving us a little bit of time. We'll do it again with Bryce very, very soon. I want to go through some numbers. I dove in pretty heavily last night into this morning about some numbers on Clemson. We have a lot of Clemson to talk about, but I want to just bring up some statistics that are objective, that just are what they are. Bring them to light and intro into our Clemson discussion. We'll do a lot more as the week continues. So we'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fired up. Tell you about a brand new sponsor here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Swing Easy Golf Club here in Baton Rouge. Golf simulators, kind of the new rage, right? This place does it right. It is first class when you walk in there. They're on Segan near Perkins in the shopping center. You'll see it. Can't miss it. You walk in, got the fridge full of beer and wine first. And you walk in, they've got 3 golf simulators. If you want to practice your game, you can do it right there on the golf simulator. It's got all your metrics, whether it's your launch angle, your carry, your distance. You can see the ball in the simulator, slice it, draw it, hit it right down the middle. You also have a great video of your club face at impact. I found that really, really helpful when I stopped by. If you want to work on your game, you can do it there. Also, if you just want to play, you can do that at tons and tons of courses around the country. You want to play TPC Louisiana? Right there, you can do it. You want to play where they just played the Tour Championship at Eastlake? You can do it. They play a pretty big tournament in April. You want to play that course? You can do that too. Or you can socialize there. They got couches, chairs. You can rent the space, watch football there. It's an awesome spot for indoor golf. Practicing, playing, socializing, whatever the case may be. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. Check out the website, swingeasygcbr.com. But if I was telling you really what to do, go see it on Seagan near Perkins. It's awesome. I was there last week. My kind of spot. TV, cold drinks, golf. It's all there at Swing Easy Golf Club. swingeasygcbr.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Talk to our guy Denton Day, Sirius XM Radio over there based in D.C. about the national college football landscape this week. We'll talk about Ohio State and Texas. We'll talk Alabama, Florida State. I believe Notre Dame and Miami this weekend as well. And certainly Clemson and LSU with Denton coming up in about 15 minutes. But I want to get into some numbers with Clemson. I'm not really giving a ton of opinion here. I just dug up some numbers that I think are relevant. We got plenty of time. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to get into a lot of opinion. We'll have some couple guests from Clemson as well to get this picture painted from both sides rather evenly. But just some numbers here, and a couple of these that I'm about to bring up really don't have a lot of bearing at all in the game on Saturday, but I just think they're interesting. Like Clemson's second in the country in wins since 2011. They've got 161 wins. Only Alabama has won more games since 2011. Since 2015, so the college football playoff era, Clemson's third in the country in winning percentage against the top 25. They're 31-12 against the top 25. That's a 72% win clip. Only Alabama and Ohio State have been better than Clemson. Here's a number here. Since 2014, Clemson is 70-5 at home. They won 40 home games in a row from 16 to 22. In the college football playoff era, they've won the ACC 8 times, and they've lost at home 5. Now, I will say, they lost twice at home last year. Louisville got after them at Clemson last year, and South Carolina with Lenora Sellers beat them as well. So, 70-5 if you go back to 2014, 2 losses if you go to last year. Then this number, which is on the negative side, and I think interesting. Clemson has been outscored 62-10 in the last 2 season openers. Georgia beat them 34-3 last year, and the year before, Duke beat them 28-7. So that's 52 points they've been outscored by in the last 2 openers. Hopefully that continues. I would love to beat Clemson by 30 points. I feel like it might be unlikely, but it hadn't been good for Clemson in openers. That's going to be the narrative around LSU, but it applies to Clemson as well. Let's talk about the offense for Clemson. Cade Klubnik last year, 3rd in the country in passing touchdowns. He threw 36 touchdowns last year. I thought it was noteworthy that of the 12 FBS quarterbacks that last year threw for 3,500 yards, and Nussmeier was one of them, there were 12 quarterbacks that threw for 3,500 yards. Klubnik's 6 interceptions were tied for the fewest. So good job of throwing for a lot of yards. Was in a group of 12. Great job of taking care of the ball as well, Cade Klubnik. 6 interceptions. His wide receivers are very talented. Antonio Williams last year led the ACC in touchdown catches with 11. Bryant Wesco was a freshman on last year's team. He had 708 receiving yards. That led ACC freshmen last year. So Antonio Williams coming off a monster year last year. Bryant Wesco Jr. had a great freshman year as well. As the offensive line, very experienced. They've got Blake Miller and Tristan Lee. You probably remember him from the recruiting ranks. He was a 5-star that LSU was very much in on. Those 2 guys are their tackles. Miller started 41 games, and Lee has started 23. And then you go to Walker Parks, who's a guard for him, 42 starts for him. Their entire offensive line, the projected 5 starters, 128 combined starts. That's the opposite of what LSU's got. They're very veteran up front. However, at running back, Adam Randall is their projected starter at running back. Dabo Swinney said he's going to start, so I'll take his word for it. He's got 4 career carries. He's a converted wide receiver, senior, only carried the ball 4 times. So they've got some questions at tailback. Now on defense, 5 Clemson opponents last year, 5 ran for over 200 yards on Clemson. Stanford, who sucks, ran for 236. Louisville ran for 210. The Citadel ran for 288 yards on Clemson. And then South Carolina, largely Lenora Sellers, who was running. I watched that game yesterday on highlights. Lenora Sellers ran everywhere, which LSU doesn't have that gear. But they ran for 267 on South Carolina. And then you've got Texas in the bowl game. Texas ran for 292 yards. So Clemson had a bad run defense last year. In fact, it was number 99 in the nation in run defense. Last year, LSU had the worst run defense in the SEC, and LSU was in the 50s. So you're looking at a Clemson team that's really struggled to stop the run last year. And then you look at Tom Allen, who they brought in from Penn State to be the defensive coordinator. His Penn State team last year, 9th in the country in run defense. So his team was much better at it last year. You look at playmakers on the defensive front. We're going to talk about these guys a lot this week. Peter Woods, TJ Parker, and then Will Helt, who they brought over from Purdue. LSU was interested in Helt. He ended up going to Clemson. It was one of Dabo's rare portal ads. But that duo combined for 19 sacks and 38 tackles for loss last year. And that's just off defensive linemen there. 19 sacks, 38 TFLs. You look at linebacker, they've got a couple guys who are very much proven, Sammy Brown and Wayne Woodaz. Very interesting last name, Woodaz. Those two combined for 176 tackles last year, including 21 and a half TFLs. Sammy Brown was the ACC Freshman of the Year, and he was a freshman All-American. Woodaz, converted safety, had a big year for him at linebacker last year. And then you got the pass defense. Clemson was second in the ACC in pass defense last year, led by Avion Terrell and Jaden Lucas. Both of those guys are back. If Terrell sounds familiar, it should. Avion Terrell is returning. His brother, AJ, in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons, was a first-round pick out of Clemson and had a bad night in the Superdome in January of 2020. Jamar Chase, not a great assignment for him. Not a great assignment for a lot of folks. Avion will not have to deal with what his brother had to deal with in purple and gold, but those are the two guys who are back there. They're second in the ACC, and in pass defense, they were 14th in the country with 16 picks last year as a secondary. So, again, that was a very, very objective, numbers-driven segment. The nuts and bolts of it, Clemson wins a lot. They win a lot at home. Their quarterback throws for a lot of yards, takes care of it. Their offensive line is very veteran. The wide receivers are proven. The running backs are not. Defensive front, insanely productive, but they couldn't stop the run last year. Linebackers, a lot of skins on the wall. Corners, a lot of skins on the wall. That's essentially an overview of Clemson without going into opinion, which we'll get into a lot over the course of the next 4 days. I've got a lot of pieces coming up on the website. We'll certainly talk about Clemson on the show consistently, but if you want to read some of these numbers, I didn't go through all of them. If you want to read some of those numbers up on the site, LouisianaSports.net, there's a free piece right now called Statistically Speaking. It's a full look at Clemson by the numbers, and that's just, I thought, a good way to ease into the opponent. Every single Monday at LouisianaSports.net, I'm going to do a statistics piece that is not meant to be read beautifully and eloquently. It's not meant to have a lot of snazzy verbs. It's meant to give you the numbers, the nuts and bolts, and get you familiar with LSU's next opponent. This is a big one coming up on Saturday, and that was kind of my foray into game week here, statistically speaking piece that's up on the website right now. So let's take a time out. When we come back, Denton Day, Sirius XM Radio. Going to talk some national college football storylines next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. My personal favorite Genesis vehicle is the GV80. It's the midsize SUV. It's got enough size and space, but it's also not a tank like some of those SUVs that you see out there on the streets. It drives wonderfully. It's one of the top IHA top safety picks, one of the safest vehicles on the road as well. If you've got a family and you're looking for a new vehicle, check out the GV80 at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can start at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. They've got every car they've got on the lot right there online. But if you'd like to get behind the wheel of it, you can go Airline at PQ. I highly recommend that. If you don't have time to do that, or you're a little bit across town, you're on a tight schedule, but you do have a 35, 40-minute lunch break, they can come to you. Just contact Genesis Baton Rouge. Let them drive to you. Take a test drive around your neck of the woods. And if you'd like to buy that vehicle, you don't have to go to the dealership at that point either. They do digital delivery. They do e-contracts. All that can be handled at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find the website, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Go see them Airline at PQ. It's genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It's a game week. Week 0 in the rearview mirror. I watched a little bit of Farmageddon. I didn't watch every snap. I'll be candid. The crew, the 3 other members of my family went to a birthday party that I was not able to get to because of football practice on Saturday. I took a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day. Just slept for 2 hours in the bed, full nap, because no one was in my house. And that was, Farmageddon was compromised because of that. I couldn't watch every play. I didn't even see the end of it because I was dead asleep. But I think there's probably one guy that was watching it, and we're going to join him he's going to join us every single Monday here during football season for another year. Denton Day, Sirius XM College Football Overtime with us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Denton, how we doing?
Hunt, I'm fantastic, man. Probably not as fantastic as a nap in the bed on a weekend, but fantastic nonetheless.
It was very good. I honestly, this is bad. I shouldn't say this out loud. I'm not 100% sure who won that game. I think Kansas State won. Is that right?
That is incorrect. It was Iowa State.
I was watching. I knew it was low scoring. I knew it was raining. It was slippery. I knew they repainted the field at halftime. Like, there was a time where I was watching. I lost touch. But yeah, either way, did that whet your appetite for college football? Are we fully in now?
Yeah, we're definitely fully in. It also helps that I was on Iowa State in that game, where it felt like most of the world was on Kansas State, so it's kind of like the double whammy. For me, I actually had a lot of fun watching Hawaii and Stanford. I'm not going to watch a lot of Hawaii football this year, so getting the opportunity to do so, watch the quarterback play on one leg. I mean, we are as back gets, and now we get like the big boys. You know, the older kids are coming to play. The better kids are coming to play, shall we say? So this weekend's going to be a whole lot more fun.
I'm not going to bury the lead. Let's just go right ahead with LSU and Clemson. How are we feeling about that one 5 days out?
Well, first of all, congratulations to Nussmeier for rocking number 18.
Yeah.
I texted the number 18 that works at your station yesterday, so I'm thrilled about that. This one I do think is going to be a tough one for LSU, mostly because I am super high on Clemson. That's my national champion hunt, because this looks like a Clemson team that Dabo had back in like a 2018, back in like a 16-17, right? It's built really through the trenches, and you have a good quarterback in Cade Klubnik. He's not quite Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson, but you have a good quarterback that is really going to have good receivers to throw to, but the bread and butter of this Clemson offense and defense is going to be through the trenches. LSU is certainly going to have their hands full come Saturday evening.
How do you feel like the game plays out in terms of points? One of my narratives all week that I'm going to be preaching is I don't think it's not going to be a track meet in my eyes. Do you see it that way, or do you feel like these two quarterbacks are going to get it rolling?
No, I would. So I'm looking at the number right now, and I see it's 57 and a hook. I would feel pretty decent about the under. I'm in the same boat as you. I feel like we very rarely see real track meets in week number one. You're not in a rhythm yet as an offense, and it feels like the defenses always have an advantage. So if this becomes like a 24-20 game with the team, either Clemson or LSU, winning by 4 points, that feels way more likely than this becoming like a 38-35, just like thriller to the very end.
How do you feel about LSU's ability to bounce back and get into the playoff if they can't win on the road in week one?
I still feel good about it. I mean, they have the benefit of playing in the SEC. They'll be able to stack a lot of quality wins. There's some teams that have good matchups in the early portion of the season. And then you look at the rest of their schedule the rest of the way, and it's like, there's a lot of pressure on you. Notre Dame is a great example. They have 2 really good matchups in the first 3 weeks of their season. But if you look at the rest of their schedule, if they split those matchups or God forbid go 0-2, they're going to be in some trouble. So LSU has the benefit of being able to play a lot of games that are going to be viewed very highly by the committee. And I do think this is the year where a 3-loss SEC team is getting in pretty comfortably. So I think they should feel all right even if they lose, as long as they're in it. If they get boat raced, I think it's a bit more of a problem. But as long as they're in it, I think they'll be okay.
See, that's interesting. I don't know that I've heard a lot of people say that 9-3 you feel is okay. It felt like a hard 10-2 cutoff last year, and then you looked at Alabama and South Carolina and Ole Miss, and they were very much on the outside. You feel better about 9-3 this year? Why?
I don't know that there's going to be multiple ACC teams in it this year, so I think that's a big differential. And I don't know that you'll have like an Indiana. Now, there is a team in the Big Ten that I do happen to like that is not Indiana, but has similar colors that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. But I don't know that you will have as many teams that are outside of the ACC and Big Ten that are as good. And because of that, I think you can kind of get a 3-loss team out of the SEC. I think they're the only conference that can get one in. I don't think you can get a 3-loss Big Ten team in, but I do think a 3-loss SEC team will be able to get in.
Interesting. You mentioned Notre Dame there. They're headed down to South Beach, Notre Dame, Miami on Sunday night. How do you handicap that one? Miami trying to face the number 1 draft pick and Notre Dame trying to come back off of a national final.
Gut feel, like Notre Dame. Here's the thing. Look at the numbers. Look at the way that the public is betting it, at least early. Hate Notre Dame. I look at these things and I want to see where the public is. That's one of the reasons I bet Iowa State. I was looking at a particular sports book. I don't know if you have a sponsor, so I'm not going to name the sports book. Oh, so it was BetMGM, and BetMGM gives you the percentages of who is playing what in the matchup, and 70% of the money was in the direction of Kansas State. This is a ranked-on-ranked matchup. I go the other way. Well, as of yesterday, and let me just recheck this, but as of yesterday, 90% of the money was in the direction of Notre Dame in a top 10 matchup. If 90% of the money is going one direction in a top 10 matchup, just by proxy, I have to go the other direction. So I've already played Miami. It's not going to be 90% by the time we get to Saturday. Like as the week progresses, the money will kind of balance out a little bit. But even still, it's about 73% in favor of Notre Dame. So I'm riding Miami. I don't like Carson Beck at all. I don't really like Mario Cristobal at all. It's purely from a contrarian standpoint.
I was going to ask you about Carson Beck, but you answered my question, so I don't have to do it, interestingly enough. All right, let's go to the big showdown with Texas and Ohio State from the shoe. Ohio State, what I'm looking at right now, is a 1.5-point choice. You like the Buckeyes?
I do like the Buckeyes. I think everyone's on the wagon with Arch, and I think Arch is going to be good. I think everyone really is kind of trying to find ways to exploit and to dislike Ohio State. Jim Knowles leaves, Chip Kelly leaves. The fact of the matter is Ohio State is at a very, very small fraternity of no matter what, they're going to be good every single year. They just retool, and they have a coach in Ryan Day that is going to scheme his guys to be very, very open. I think this one could end up being a track meet purely because the offensive play callers are some of the best in college football. I'm really excited to see what Jeremiah Smith is going to look like. So I do like Ohio State. It's a very short line, but I do like Ohio State, and I think this Julian Sayin kid might end up being pretty good.
Can Florida State put a scare into Alabama at the Doak down there in Tallahassee?
I mean, for the sake of Thomas Castellanos, I hope so. I mean, that man has been running his mouth all summer. Lord have mercy. I don't think so. I'm really high on Alabama this year. Year 2 of Kalen DeBoer, I think, is going to see a big step forward offensively. So good on Florida State. I don't think they stand a chance once you get to the second half.
You're in the DMV, South Carolina, and Virginia Tech from Atlanta on Sunday. South Carolina, great year last year, and Sellers is a highlight factory. Do you like them to be as good this year, or do you think Virginia Tech could potentially start things off on a sour note there for Shane Beamer?
So I'm not in on Virginia Tech. I was big on the Hokies last year, and they took a number 2 all over my dinner plate. So I'm kind of good on that. It is going to be interesting, though, because we see from year to year, like South Carolina has not really put together 2 great years in like my lifetime. Like it feels like it's been an eternity. So they have an interesting opportunity to do so, but I'm going to be very curious. If they boat race Virginia Tech and their offense is a track meet for the entirety of the game, I think signs will point to a good direction. But if this game is close, I think that says way more about South Carolina than it does Virginia Tech. They should crush them, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they handle this Week 1 matchup.
You still got overtime duties 11 to 1 our time?
Yep, 11 to 1 your time, Friday and Saturday. So
nice.
A lot of late weekends for your boy, but there's no place I'd rather be.
It's football, man. We're back. Appreciate you for giving us a little time. We'll talk to you next Monday. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it as always.
Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime, as he mentioned, Friday and Saturday, late night after the games go final. LSU not on Sunday this year, actually on Saturday. So after that one, you can find Denton, or you can catch us right here on Eagle 98.1's post game as well. Lots and lots going on today. It's been a fun show. We got one more segment. We'll come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, wrapping things up here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. It's been a fast-moving show. I hope this is a fast-moving week. I have my sincere doubts about that. I think that it may drag a little bit because of the anticipation coming for the weekend, but it's good to be back in season. Great to hear from Brian Kelly at his press conference today. For those that missed it, we're going to adjust our schedule on Mondays and Fridays moving forward. Today, you noticed that the sports, I say sports today, that's incorrect. Live at Lunch start early on Mondays so that we can get to the Brian Kelly press conference. We're still at the same time. OTB still at the same time. AFR still at the same time. But Sports Today, I said it again, Live at Lunch will start a little bit early on Mondays, and then they'll start at 10 o'clock on Fridays. So we're live and local on Fridays from 7 a.m. all the way through 6:45 p.m., and then into Catholic High football. So excited to get into all that this week. It's good to be back inside some football season. I know LSU started school today, so if any students are listening on syllabus week, get to your classes. It's very important. I never missed one. My entire 5 years of school, I got to every class.
I don't believe you.
It's an amazing record.
I really don't believe you.
One of the few in history that never skipped a single day of school. It's important that you get there, kids.
Wow.
You need to be in class.
What a role model.
That's what I am. I don't know what my GPA was, but they got me out of school. That's good. Speaking of role models, children.
Yeah.
You had one of those since we last saw you. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going. I think it's going as it usually does for most people. So she'll be 2 weeks on Wednesday. Wednesday. Yeah, the first week we're in the hospital from 2 weeks ago. We were in the hospital from Wednesday to Saturday. She had a little bit of jaundice, so she had to go under the lights for a while.
Go under the lights. Got to get some sunlight.
Yep, got some sunlight. Actually did pretty good with that. And then we got home. And it was, just all over the place. Sometimes she would sleep for a while. Sometimes she wouldn't. We're having to feed her every 3 hours. You know all these things.
I do. That first 3 months, not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot of, you love the baby. It's great that you have the baby. Baby doesn't really care about anything.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of anything.
That's pretty much how it's going. So
you got 3 months of that.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, we're 2 weeks in, hon. All right, we're already through 2 weeks, so we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
I think we got a laugh right around 3.5 months, 3 months and a couple weeks. So that's what you'll look for.
Yeah, we are.
Congratulations to the Becks.
Thank you.
Do you feel like a new person? You feel a sense of responsibility that you've never had before? Yeah,
of course, absolutely. Yeah, I don't always say new. I guess I am. I mean, I'm definitely different. Definitely, obviously, the whole sleep thing is way different. But yeah, it's had its moments so far that have been good. But yeah, the whole night thing is way different. But I'm sure we'll get used to it, eventually. So
I don't know if you get used to it.
Maybe
you just
not.
hope that it's good. And some days it is, and some nights it's just not very good. And that's just kind of part of it.
Last night, not great, unfortunately.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. But we're making it.
Glad to hear it. Let's take it or leave it. I just dropped my pen.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer. Here's the deal. You're going to be drinking some beers on Saturday. I know it. I can feel it. I know you are. You're going to be watching the Tigers. It's hot outside. You might be on the grill. The next generation of light beer is Flight by Yingling. Talking 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, and all that delicious beer flavor that you're looking for. If you haven't given it a try, just put some in the fridge to have ready for Saturday. It's Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All righty, first one here. Got some news out of Ann Arbor. Head coach Sharon Moore announced Bryce Underwood will be Michigan's starting quarterback for their opening game this season, who I think they're playing somebody not good. So it'll probably go fine.
They don't go down to Oklahoma for a week or two.
Yeah. They go to Oklahoma September. So that's next weekend. So they'll play Oklahoma next weekend, which I also don't know. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a very good game in terms of, I don't know, Oklahoma's getting so much hype. It's really surprising. I don't know, they've really talked up the quarterback of Washington State.
John Mateer?
Yeah, John Mateer has been getting a lot of praise. But anyways, Bryce Underwood starting in Michigan. Take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it alone.
Be riding the bench at LSU, where he committed.
Yeah. He's not.
He's really not.
He's going to be starting with the blue and yellow on.
He has a lot of money.
He does.
He has a lot of money. Thank you to Oracle for being a massive software boon that has a wife who wants to be good at football, and he doesn't care, so he just spends a lot of money on football players. Awesome.
Yep. All right.
I'm not bitter about that at all.
Definitely not. How about this, Hunt? You're not bitter about this. The Cubs, Hunt. Woo! Ever since I left.
Wow.
They've been on a heater. The Brewers are finally showing their true colors. 5 games back, Hunt. The Cubs are going to win the division. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that.
Leave it alone.
Five's a lot.
Got a lot of games left.
They have a lot. They don't have a lot of games.
They
left,
got a decent
relatively
amount.
Speaking. There are some left. I'm excited about the way the Cubs are playing. Kyle Tucker's busted
he's
out.
Back.
Brewers are losers, and I'm excited to see what happens the rest of the way. Off day today, though. So
yeah, it's all right. We got the Giants. The Giants are not very good.
No, they did beat the Brewers.
They did. They did beat the Brewers.
Like.
We did. We do like that. All right, that's it.
All right, that's it for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Lots and lots of ground that we covered today. Talked to LSU, Saturday practice, Garrett Nussmeier at the first part of the show. You can find that online wherever you find your podcast at Hunt on LSU. Talk Saints, cut day for the Saints. If you looked live, up-to-the-date tracker for all the Saints roster moves today, you can find that at LouisianaSports.net. I talked about it. You can also find our Saints coverage at Hunt on Saints. Jack Pyburn talked on Friday. I just was really interested in what he had to say, and I'm really buying what he's selling about his potential to have a monster year. So you can catch that at Hunt on LSU as well. Dr. Jeremy Burnham from Oxnard with us for Sports Health, presented by the Oxnard Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Was at the end of the hour. Bryce Koon from On 3, part of the Bengal Tiger, gave us his season prediction at the top of the hour. And we did some just straight numbers on Clemson. We're going to talk all about Cade Klubnik tomorrow, and I'm going to get a guest on from Clemson coming up on Wednesday. But I just talked about some straight numbers from Clemson. You can find that at 2:15 and then Denton Day. SiriusXM's College Football Overtime was with us talking national storylines at 2:30. If you missed it, you can catch any of that on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. You can like, subscribe, rate, and review. Appreciate it when you do that. Helps us get our content in front of as many people as we possibly can. We are off and running on game week, people, and we're excited about it. Follow us on LouisianaSports.net as we move forward through the week. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, talking LSU, Clemson, and Saints preseason. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.